He said it the way it's supposed to be said. We are happy that finally he has the document and he has initiated the process of extraditing him. Just like we were also told by the man from the embassy that they are willing to receive the request, but the process can be tedious sometimes. I think that is exactly what the Attorney General said. So now we are clear in our minds that he has begun the process. He will put in the necessary effort and make sure he meets the demands of the U.S. government before he can be extradited, if any. So that is where we are, Senna.
But it doesn't look like it's a straightforward issue, is it?
No, because if you remember, the Deputy Attorney General, Justice I, gave us a hint that one pass correct, properly documented, and you go to court. So when you go to court, the judge is going to look at what you present, and once the judge is persuaded, then the judge can say it can be extradited. Unfortunately, when it comes to the U.S., it is the Secretary of State, just like your foreign minister, who will allow him to be extradited finally. And the Secretary of State is a politician. Ken Ofori Atta has investment interests in the U.S. And many of the things he did, some businesses have gone to the U.S. His school at Yale, if my memory serves me right. And he's asking for citizenship as well. So the judge may say, you have persuaded me based on what you presented to me and the case you made as an attorney general. And I have signed off that he needs to come to Ghana. It will be left with the Secretary of State to also be persuaded by what the judge said and say, let him come. So that is where we are.
Oh, so we have, because the Attorney General is telling us that I am prepared to face him in the courts in the U.S. But it looks like you're saying it's not only left to the Attorney General.
No, once you overcome the court procedure and the judge in the U.S. says, based on the evidence you presented, he has a case to answer in Ghana, and I have signed off that he can be extradited. The final decision has to be taken by the Secretary of State. And you know, when it comes to the U.S., President, Vice President, the next powerful person is the Secretary of State. And so that is a decision. And people said that is a political decision that you will need to persuade a politician why Ken Ofori Atta needs to come to Ghana. And you can now understand the geopolitics of it and how regulations within each country works. And that is why the likes of Martin people are saying that don't let him live here in the first place. Why will you want to let him go and not taking the trouble to bring him down when you know there are hurdles to be crossed? So that is where we are.
So it depends on the strength of our case against him. We must convince a judge in the U.S.
No, persuade a judge, not convince. Persuasion comes by the evidence you present.
Okay, we must persuade the judge in the U.S.
Persuade the judge, and once the judge says, based on the evidence you present, he has a case to answer, the judge will grant it to you. But when he grants it, the final decision somehow it has to be taken by the Secretary of State.
Should we be worried that the Attorney General is also talking about the fact that Mr. Ofori Atta is preparing himself? In fact, he is aware that he has acquired the services of some top lawyers in the U.S. to ensure that he doesn't come back.
Yeah, I wasn't surprised at all. That is the way it's going to be anyway. There will be a legal fight. But then, the good thing on your side, if you want to prosecute him from the position of prosecution, Justice I is a lawyer who has studied in the U.S., a PhD holder or a doctorate. Your Attorney General is also a Stanford graduate. They know the U.S. system. They do not just do first degree or second degree, but they have the exposure. Because you see, when it comes to the environment of law, environment of investigations and prosecutions, geopolitics and the international exposure is also important. And so you do not just go there, but you must understand how the system works. And so I believe the two people you have as Attorney General and Deputy have a lot of exposure and understanding when it comes to the US and the UK. So we can say they have a well-vested knowledge when it comes to the West and how each country play their legal game. So that wouldn't be a problem at all. The only issue is that the amount of money it will take for you to pursue this case in the U.S. court. Because remember whether the Normally, it is that Deputy Attorney General who will go, but the structure I have seen them performing. The Attorney General wouldn't go. It will be the Deputy Attorney General, Justice. And whether the Attorney General will go, they have to make a presentation a number of times. And depending on how the procedure is going to be, and it comes at a cost to the state.
Okay. And finally, you're saying that we also need to get our politics straight on. So, if you're talking about the Secretary of State, it means there has to be ongoing conversations between him and perhaps the Minister for Foreign Affairs.
Definitely, those conversations might have started by now, considering the fact that the President of Ghana and the Attorney General, and particularly the Foreign Minister, is somebody who is also well vested within the geopolitics of the West, and he has been to the US. They have had these visa lists on, off, refugees, and many of those things. I don't want to believe that my brother Okudjata Broka will fumble when it comes to these things. So, if Ghana really want to bring him down from the position of prosecution and the help the diplomatic channels are going to play, I'm sure they will put in. Then you have your deputy ambassador to the U.S., Uncle Ben Dochemelo, UN. No, these are people who know the terrain. So that even if it comes to a position of lobbying, which is widely accepted in the U.S., you also have people who know the environment and they know exactly what to do. What you would need to also pray for is the strength, cooperation among each one of them, hit the right note, and make sure they get the results. But more importantly, educate the general public, which is also part of good governance and best practice, so that people know exactly what they are doing.
Thank you. Thank you very much for speaking to us.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
That's Mr. Richard Kumadoe, a fraud and security expert, speaking to us. Very interesting revelations on this matter. So he says there are actually two hurdles you have to scale. You have to first go through the court. If you persuade the court, they now have to deal with the Secretary of State, who has the final authority. Godwin G. Delase says, and I think we should also make changes to our extradition law. You see, the interesting thing is that in the cases of, you see, the guys who have, like Abu Trika and others, they come to us with decisions of grand juries in the US. So there's a decision that has been taken by a grand jury. So it means that they've gone through the process most at times of trial. And then in the absence of the person involved, grand jury makes a decision, then they come to us with that and come and persuade us as to the reason they need the person. So I think they also go through the same process, because then you have to go to the district court here in Ghana and have those conversations before they send the people to the US. Let's speak to Lawyer David Olaga. Thank you very much.